There's a certain kind of silence that settles over fans when a trailer begins, one that feels almost heavier than sound itself, and that's exactly the atmosphere this supposed Avengers Doomsday teaser creates from the very first breath. It doesn't open with a hero's triumphant return or a montage of explosions. Instead, we hear a voice we once associated with genius, arrogance, and redemption, now twisted into something darker and far more wounded. Robert Downey Jr.'s voice, no longer Tony Stark's, rolls in as Dr. Doom, weaving the kind of confession that feels like it was never meant to be heard by anyone alive. He speaks not of victory, but of trials, suffering, and a lifetime carved by betrayal and cosmic cruelty. As he speaks, the camera reveals only the faint outline of a lone figure standing in a rain-drenched cemetery. No fanfare, no flash. Just the weight of a man who was forced to become more than human long before he ever wanted to be. And then, suddenly, before we can process the grief in his words, flames erupt across the screen, swallowing the frame in a burst so violent that Doom's silhouette becomes the only thing left in the firelight. That eruption doesn't fade gently. It detonates outward into a shockwave that throws the entire trailer into chaos, and with it comes a fading whisper that fans immediately recognize as Loki. But there's a distortion in his tone, something rattled and broken, as if even the god of mischief has glimpsed something he shouldn't have. His warning dissolves into crackling static as the screen transitions to Thor standing on a barren shoreline that looks nothing like Earth. There's weariness in the tilt of his posture, the kind that even gods can't hide when the universe has begun to unravel around them. The sky above him churns with colors that don't belong together, like two separate realities struggling to occupy the same space. Cut to Sam Wilson, staring upward with a fear he's trained his whole life to bury, and beside him, Reed Richards, whose expression carries the horrifying recognition of a scientist who finally encounters a problem he cannot solve. Each cut becomes faster, more frantic, more desperate. Doctor Strange sprints through a collapsing chamber shrouded in shadow, and in the distance, we see two entire universes bending, twisting, and colliding with each other as cities crumble both above and below. Doom's voice returns, calmer now, almost eerily steady as he declares that he will unleash the eternal trap that once held him prisoner. It's the kind of line that suggests trauma so deep that vengeance becomes the only language left. As he speaks, we see flashes, sharp, jagged fragments of battles he's endured. Not heroic battles, not noble ones, but raw, survival-driven confrontations where Doom stands alone against monstrous forces, wielding both science and sorcery with a precision that feels almost ritualistic. His armor, darker and more organic than previous interpretations, pulses as if it has its own heartbeat. A metal gauntlet crackles with unstable energy. A shield of green light bends under the weight of cosmic fire. These moments aren't presented as triumphs. They're scars stitched together into a montage of a man who learned to overcome the kind of adversaries no ordinary Avenger has ever faced. It paints Doom not as a villain born of ego, but as one shaped by torment and relentless evolution. And then, in the most haunting moment yet, a mask falls. Not in slow motion, but with a brutal metallic clang. And we glimpse the face beneath, burned and scarred like shattered earth. The reveal of Doom's disfigured face is not done for shock value. Instead, the camera lingers just long enough for viewers to understand this is a man permanently marked by whatever unspeakable fusion of magic and science altered him. The texture looks almost like burnt clay mixed with melted metal, and the scar that cuts across his cheek feels like a reminder of every failed moment in his past. This isn't the arrogance of an untouchable monarch. This is someone who crawled out of the ruins of his own suffering and chose power because hope abandoned him long ago. The lighting flickers across his expression, and for a moment, you can almost see the ghost of the man he once was. But the voiceover turns colder, more certain, as though he's speaking not just to the audience, but to the very fabric of the multiverse that once tormented him. The trailer shows him raising his hand, and reality around him bends in ways that even Strange has never been able to manipulate. It suggests Doom is not simply tapping into mystical energy, he is commanding it, reshaping it, weaponizing it with a familiarity that hints he's done this countless times before. And just when viewers start to think the trailer has revealed its biggest twist, the tone shifts again. The sky fractures like glass, and we see what appears to be two planets experiencing destruction simultaneously, their landscapes shattering in mirrored chaos as though they are cosmically tethered. Buildings crumble in identical patterns across both worlds, suggesting some kind of forced synchrony between realities. Fans immediately grasp that this is no ordinary multiversal collapse. It is orchestrated. Doom speaks again, but his words are softer this time, almost mournful as he references the eternal trap once more. It becomes clear that the trap he intends to unleash is not a device, but a phenomenon, something ancient and merciless that once consumed him. The visuals imply that he is no longer running from it. He plans to turn it outward, letting his suffering become the blueprint for the universe's destruction. The screen cuts to darkness, but not silence. Faint echoes of devastation linger, shattering debris, collapsing structures, the low thrum of universes grinding against each other. Every sound builds the impression that the threat Doom brings is not just physical or magical, but metaphysical, woven into reality itself like a virus waiting to spread. The next set of visuals brings the focus back to the heroes, though calling them heroes feels almost ironic in a trailer where even they seem lost. Sam Wilson appears again, this time with his wings partially deployed, not in preparation for flight, but as a shield against some unseen force tearing through the air. Reed Richards stands beside a shattered screen displaying impossible mathematical structures, fractals looping into infinity, quantum diagrams collapsing into pure noise. His face holds the look of a man who thought he understood the universe, only to realize he was merely peeking through a keyhole. Thor, meanwhile, grips Stormbreaker with a desperation fans haven't seen since Infinity War, and lightning flickers weakly around him as if even the elemental forces he commands are unstable. Doctor Strange rises from the ground in another shot, surrounded by swirling ribbons of magic that fray at the edges like unraveling threads. Strange looks terrified, not of Doom himself, but of the implications, the way reality seems to be buckling, snapping, unable to contain whatever Doom is about to unleash. The trailer gives no comforting assurance, no rallying cry, only the quiet dread of heroes who realize they may already be too late. But then, almost unexpectedly, the pacing slows again, letting the tension simmer rather than explode. The trailer shows a brief image of Kamar Taj in ruins, its once sacred halls now cracked open by some interdimensional force. Strange walks through the debris like a man searching for something he already knows is gone. The sanctum's candles flicker violently, their flames bending sideways as if gravity itself is glitching. Reed is shown examining a sample of energy that warps the very air around it, his expression shifting from curiosity to horror. Sam stands with a group of civilians, shielding them as fragments of the sky fall like burning feathers. Thor's gaze turns upward again, and a single line from Doom overlays the footage. Balance is an illusion. Pain is the truest constant. The sentence lands with the weight of a prophecy. It hints that Doom's suffering has convinced him that the universe's very structure is flawed and that destruction, not preservation, is the only honest path. It's the kind of villain logic that doesn't come from madness, but from clarity. terrifying clarity that resonates long after the words fade. Then comes a sequence of rapid-fire images that feels intentionally overwhelming, as if the trailer is trying to make the audience experience the panic the heroes feel. A cosmic rift spirals open above what looks like a devastated New York. Strange forms a barrier, but it flickers and shreds apart as though it were made of delicate fabric. Reed's arm stretches into impossible shapes as he tries to stabilize a collapsing machine. Sam hovers in the air, wings crackling under the strain of gravitational turbulence. Thor hurls Stormbreaker, but instead of flying smoothly, it distorts mid-air, pulled toward the rift like a magnet. And woven between these shots are glimpses, just milliseconds long, of Doom walking through different realities, untouched by the destruction, observing it like a composer, listening to the symphony he created. His voice whispers, "I endured the end. Now you will witness it." The way he speaks suggests not cruelty, but inevitability, as though he believes the multiverse has already passed the point of rescue. And through the chaos, a faint hum grows louder, like something ancient awakening, something that has been dormant and patient, waiting for Doom to finally give it permission to rise. The hum intensifies until it distorts the audio, and then everything abruptly cuts to black. The silence lingers, long enough for viewers to think the trailer might actually be over. But then a soft flickering light appears and we see a portal forming, one that looks unmistakably like TVA technology. This is where the tone shifts again, not toward hope, but toward uncertainty. The portal stabilizes, and out of it step two figures who should not exist in this timeline: Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter. Their appearance is not triumphant. It feels almost ceremonial, as if they've been summoned by something greater than themselves. Steve's eyes scan the devastation around them with a mix of sorrow and resolve, while Peggy seems to carry an understanding that Steve has not yet voiced. The trailer holds on their faces, letting the emotional weight sink in. For longtime fans, it's a moment that instantly triggers 1,000 theories. Why are they here? What timeline do they belong to? Who brought them? And most importantly, what does their presence mean for the coming catastrophe? As the camera tightens on their expressions, the sense grows that they are not here to save the universe, but to witness something pivotal. But before those questions can settle, Doom's voice returns one final time, layered with a distorted echo that makes it unclear whether he's speaking across universes or straight into the audience's mind. Every ending, he says, begins with truth. The line feels like a direct challenge, a declaration that whatever comes next will tear away the illusions the heroes cling to. The screen flashes to more fragmented imagery, Steve and Peggy stepping onto what appears to be broken temporal ground, Reed activating a device that shakes with unstable energy, Strange drawing sigils that refuse to stay symmetrical, Sam lifting a fallen civilian from a fractured street, and Thor releasing a roar that sounds more like grief than fury. And then, the camera cuts to Doom standing amidst swirling cosmic storms, his armor glowing with energy that looks older than the universe itself. His expression is unreadable, neither rage nor triumph, but something colder, heavier. The trailer seems to make one thing unmistakably clear. Doom is not simply the villain of this story. He is the catalyst, the inevitable force, the storm that arrives after every failed attempt to save what's left. And the heroes know it. The final montage begins with a sound like a heartbeat, deep, resonant, mechanical. It syncs with flashes of collapsing timelines, crumbling landscapes, and distorted reflections of heroes who seem to flicker between versions of themselves. There's a shot of Strange looking directly into a tear in reality and seeing not Doom, but some reflection of his own fears staring back. Sam races through debris with a determination that feels almost desperate. while Reed clenches his fists as equations swirl around him and disintegrate. Thor raises Stormbreaker once more, lightning finally surging with renewed strength, as if responding to some ancient call. And covering all these images is Doom's whisper. "I am not your enemy. I am your conclusion." The phrase is chilling not because it carries malice, but because it carries certainty. It implies that everything the Avengers have ever fought for, their victories, their losses, their legacy, was always leading to this inevitable convergence. The heartbeat grows louder, faster, until the entire screen seems to pulse with it. And then, in a moment that feels deliberately suffocating, everything cuts to black once more. Only a faint metallic echo remains, like the closing of a colossal door. When the screen finally lights up again, it reveals the last and most haunting image of the trailer. Steve and Peggy standing together, their silhouettes illuminated by the glow of the TVA portal behind them. There is no music, no dialogue, no dramatic flourish. Just the two of them staring directly into the camera as if breaking the final barrier between fiction and viewer. This moment feels intentionally intimate, almost confrontational, as though the trailer is asking the audience to consider the gravity of what they've just witnessed. Steve's expression carries a mix of heartbreak and resolve, the kind of look he wore before stepping into battles he knew he might not survive. Peggy's gaze is steadier, almost knowing, as if she understands the role they are about to play in the unraveling of time itself. The stillness of this shot contrasts sharply with the chaos that came before it, making the silence feel louder than any explosion. And just as viewers begin to expect a closing title card, the screen simply fades out, leaving them suspended in uncertainty. No tagline, no hero shot, only a sense that something unimaginable is coming and that the universe may not be ready. And finally, after all the devastation, whispers, and impossible reunions, the screen flashes the title Avengers Doomsday, followed by the runtime of the trailer, 1 minute and 48 seconds. The absence of the X-Men in this first teaser now feels deliberate, almost strategic, as if Marvel intends to let the weight of Doom, the Avengers, and the Fantastic Four establish the tone before the inevitable arrival of mutants reshapes the entire landscape of the MCU. The trailer ends without a release date, offering only the echo of Doom's final whisper lingering in the mind long after the visuals fade. It is the kind of teaser designed not just to excite, but to unsettle, to make viewers question what it means for a villain to be forged not by ambition, but by suffering. And as fans replay the footage over and over, searching for hidden clues, one thing becomes clear. This is not a story about heroes saving reality. It is a story about confronting the consequences of every choice, every failure, every fracture in the multiverse. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd love to support our work directly, consider dropping a $20 super thanks so we can keep building stories like this.